There's millions of government employees that are about to receive a whole bunch of extra money on a monthly basis for the rest of their lives and a year's worth of back pay, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, ten thousands of dollars out there. These are specifically for government employees. Politicians gave them an early Christmas present, I guess. And this was money that was actually intended for poor people, people struggling their entire lives, disabled veterans, disabled people, and they essentially took advantage of the system, and they're going to get a whole bunch of extra money. And I say we do everything we possibly can to make sure it doesn't go through. It's passed the House, it passed the Senate. It looks as though the president is going to sign it, so we need to do something quickly. And the the way people talking about this whole program out there is completely incorrect. There's probably about 1% out there that talk about it correctly, and unfortunately, I'm kind of out there, and I get a lot of nasty comments. But we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff, and based on this, you'll know how your Social Security is actually calculated and how they determine how much your monthly benefit is going to be. And did you know that Social Security is kind of a welfare program too? We'll talk about that. And after, we'll do a live Q&A. So for those 3% of government employees that completely disagree with me, make sure you put your comments in the chat, and I'd be more than happy to debate any and all of you. I've been doing it for a few decades because I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country. I've taken hundreds of thousands of retirement claims, disability claims, and all the rest of it, and including claims specifically for government employees like this. And they used to complain all the time, oh, why are you stopping my check? Why are you reducing my check? Why are you discriminating against me? And all the rest of it. And once I explained it to them, they were all pretty much okay. But I've got, I guess, 2.7 million other people we have to get to. And just as important, more important, if we don't stop this, I say we all get together. And as I talked about in a few other videos, we get together and we say, hey, politicians, if you're going to give all this extra money to these government employees at the cost of $190 billion, hey, the other 97% would be more than happy to get that extra money. And kind of full disclosure, I am not one of those government employees. The government employees we're talking about are state, local, some federal that have been working for this under the old system. I started a few decades ago under the new system, so I paid into Social Security, and I'm not one of those 3%. Just kind of a FYI out there. Okay, let's go into this, and I'm gonna talk about what this is. Um, and again, do you want that extra money? And if you do, let's go ahead and get our politicians to give that extra money to us. Um, uh, my regular viewers are saying, Ed, you're talking about this too much. Yeah, because there was kind of a deadline for the Senate to pass. So I need to talk about it. And now we've got another deadline. Maybe we can stop President Biden from signing it. Don't think it's going to happen. But the next deadline to stop this is January 20th with a new president. So Doge people out there, whoever, if you're watching this, you can save 190 billion. I'll show you an easy way to save 190 billion. And again, the rest of us are paying for this out of our Social Security checks. That 190 billion means that the Social Security cuts, which are inevitable if nothing is done, those cuts are going to be more and they're going to be sooner. So this is costing all of us money. All right. So what this is a Social Security Fairness Act. It would just pass by Senate. It's about to be signed by the president, and they're going to receive extra money and the back pay. And these are employees, government employees, that their main jobs they did not pay into Social Security. So there are state, local government agencies out there that decided decades ago that they didn't want to play with Social Security, so they don't contribute to Social Security, the FICA part of Social Security. They contribute to Medicare. They wanted to be part of that program, but not Social Security, so they don't contribute. But so these teachers and city hall workers and mayors and all these other people, they did not pay into Social Security in their main jobs, but they did pay into Social Security maybe in the places they worked before, or if they were a cop, they did a little security work on the side, or if they were a teacher, they worked in the summer. So they did pay into Social Security. And so it's kind of complicated. And that's one of the reasons I think this passed, is because people didn't understand it. So I'm going to give a really, really, hopefully a very, very easy way to understand this. I'm going to give 3 examples, 3 retirement interviews. So we're going to talk about the first person. So the first person goes into the Social Security office, and He says, okay, I want to go ahead and collect my Social Security. So this is the 97%. This is how your benefits are calculated out there, the other 97%. Okay, you go into a Social Security office and Social Security, checks your ID and all that kind of good stuff, and they determine how much your benefit amount is based on how much you actually paid into Social Security. So here is a work history. So this particular, like this is what yours essentially looks like. They look at all your earnings throughout your life, and then they index it for kind of a wage index, and then they divide it by 35 years. So the top 35 years, they look at the top 35 years, and then they come up with an an averaged index monthly earnings. So over your entire life, those high 35 years, what is the average you made on a monthly basis? So that's how they do it. So the truck drivers and construction and teachers, very, very easy. Okay, for you, based on how much you work throughout your life, this is how much we're going to give you. And it's based on the calculations. I've done the calculations on other videos. I don't want to do those again because that's where I lost a lot of viewers. um, the calculations are basically it's a kind of a sliding scale based on a replacement rate. So they look at your earnings throughout your life, get your average index monthly earnings. So if the average person today is receiving about $1,900, so that means their average earnings throughout their life was about $5,000. So if your average earnings is about $5,000, we're going to give you a 50% check. Here is your check. So we calculate it. You're going to get 50%. Here's your check. Okay. Go have a great life, enjoy retirement, play with the kids, travel, do something. 50%, right? Some people receive 35%. Some people receive 90%. So the more you pay into Social Security, 35%. Actually, it goes down to about 30% today. So if your average earnings throughout your life was like about $14,000 or $15,000, you're probably only getting about a 30% return. And so someone that is a really low income wage earner, they get a 90%. So there's a kind of a sliding scale depending on how much you're receiving. Yeah, it's kind of a welfare type program, right? The top earners get less, the low earners get more of a percentage, right? So it is kind of a welfare. And people say, well, it's not what a welfare is. And teachers out there that are demanding this money, here is the definition of welfare: a statutory procedure, a social effort designed to promote the basic physical and material well-being of people in need. So those percentages were designed. It's been like that since 1935. Since Social Security was started, it's always been kind of a progressive system where low-income wage earners get more and higher get less as a percentage. They get an absolute more, but as a percentage of what they paid into Social Security, they get less. And there was a bunch of changes in 1979, and that started the different calculations, but they're basically the same type of progressive system. Okay, all right. So the next person comes in. So the 50% person, the construction worker, the teacher, the cop, the firefighter, the waitress, whatever, they receive their 50% replacement rate, and they went on, and they're all happy. You could always want more, but anyway, the next person comes in, and the next person is a low income wage earner. Okay, so if you look at their earnings here, this is their earnings since basically 1970. They made $500, and in 1988 they made $2,500. Oh, 2001 had a good year, 15,000. Got a bunch of zeros in there. So this person was just barely surviving. Sometimes able to work, other times not. So they might have had mental disabilities, physical disabilities. They're poor, homeless, disabled veterans. These people have been struggling all of their lives to just survive, just to get by on a daily basis. Sometimes they're able to work and sometimes not. So we, as an American people, have decided that, hey, you've been struggling all your life. It's not much, but we're going to give you the high end of the scale. We're going to give you a 90% replacement rate of your earnings there. You probably made, an average throughout your life because of all those zeros, maybe $1,000 a month on average that you earn throughout your life. So 90%, $900. Sorry, that's pretty much all. we can give you. I mean, we like to give you more, but here's a resource guide. We used to do that in my office. If someone came in like that and they were struggling and homeless and only had a very small amount, we would ask them if they want to file for SSI, which is a welfare-based program. But we also give them a resource guide about homeless shelters and food stamps and Medicaid and other things out there that might be able to help them out. Okay, and I've done that as well. If you're new to my channel, I've been doing over 900 videos on all things Social Security, but everything else as well. And check out this video I did. It was about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago. Living on Social Security alone, I've outlined about 50 different programs that if you or someone that's struggling, make sure you watch that video. And I go through 50 videos, and a lot of awesome people in my community here have added. They put in the description below that video, they've added a bunch of stuff that, hey, maybe you should check out this, maybe you should check out that. So we have an awesome community, and I do a live Q&A pretty much every day. I'm going to miss Christmas, New Year's maybe, and it depends. But 3 o'clock West Coast time, 6 o'clock East Coast time. If you know anybody that needs help navigating the bureaucracy, make sure you tell them to join us. Okay, so back to our story. Then the third person comes in, that 3%, these government employees, people that worked at the DMV, they were city workers, they were teachers, firefighters, police. And they have the exact same work record as that disabled person, that poor person. Okay. And so we're like, oh my gosh, another one. Oh, wow. That's just the economy out there is just terrible. Oh, God. Okay. Based on your earnings there and everything, and based on the calculations, here's your check for 90% of what you paid into Social Security. You did pay into Social Security. We understand that. Yes, we understand that. Here's 90%. Okay. And here's a resource guide as well. Because you've been struggling, you've been having a hard time, and homeless, and picking up cans alongside the road, and all this other kind of stuff. And they said, no, what are you talking about? I was the mayor of a city. I was a teacher. I was a principal of a school. I was a firefighter. I was the chief of police. Oh, wait a second. You have a bunch of earnings that weren't notified to Social Security until 1983. So this is what internally, any Social Security employee in the country confirmed this. This is what in the SEQI, the Summary of Earnings Query, this is what it looks like. Your work record. On the top, it has what you paid into Social Security. And if you're one of these 3%, it has a category below it that says these are earnings that this person earned, but they did not pay into Social Security, so it wasn't part of the calculation. So we gave this person a 90% replacement rate based on the top, but we're like, wait a second. You were making just as much as the first person I interviewed, that other cop or the firefighter or the teacher. You're making exactly the same income. And no, you don't get the 90%. You don't get the 90%. We need to recalculate your benefits and give you just as much as the previous person, not the disabled person, but the other person that had equal earnings to you. So you're entitled to 50%, not 90%. And then, first you hand the 90% to the person, and they're like, oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. Based on your earnings down there, we didn't see those earnings down there. And so, yeah, now that we see those earnings, you're not entitled to that, essentially welfare benefit. We're going to give you 50%. And this is what they've been complaining about for the past 40 years is that you cut my benefits. I was entitled to the 90%. No, you weren't. You're discriminated against me by giving me 50% instead of 90%. No, that money was never intended for you. It was intended for poor people. And so if you look at these are teachers. If you look at the National Education Association, Educators Association, you look at their website and it talks about this is unfair and they're discriminating against us. It's injustice and stuff because they're cutting our benefits. Number one, the benefits are not being cut. They're being recalculated. I give them this. Was the way the formula, was the formula perfect? No, the formula was not perfect. The formula was decided about 40 years ago. And 40 years ago, Social Security did not have any of your earnings. Wherever you worked, they did not have to notify Social Security of how much you made. So Social Security didn't know. But now, since 1983, Social Security knows. So there's a better way to calculate it now. So this is the issue. The 3% out there demanded the entire thing be wiped out. that they be given not 50%. Now they're going to be given 90%. So from here on out, they're going to be given 90%. Plus, these people are also going to get, I hate to use the word you, these people, but unfortunately, they, what I got a little thing here, my little thingy there. Anyway, this is a advanced YouTube here, my $10 blue screen. But then they're getting 90% back pay. So the difference between, let's say, the 50% or the 90%, they're getting a year of back pay as well. And how it should be calculated, because this is what they should have demanded. There was a lot of people out there that were being essentially dishonest with the calculations, and they knew they're not entitled to the 90%, but they demanded it anyway. They weren't being dishonest, or the politician. Why did the politicians follow this? Well, come on, politicians are politicians. That's annoying, isn't it? Politicians are politicians, um, and they want votes, and they wanted the votes of these 3%. And there's also an element of these politicians that are using this as a way to destroy Social Security. As soon as the quickest way to destroy Social Security is destroy customer service, and suck up the trust fund. And this does a good job at that, because $190 billion. And I was just watching the news today, and we had John Kennedy there, Senator John Kennedy, talk about Social Security is just a terrible thing, and they've been discriminating against this. Social Security is such a terrible organization, even though this law that was switched it from 90 to 50% was passed by Congress. He blames it on Social Security. So they knew this was wrong. They definitely knew this was wrong. And yes, the way the calculations were done, it was not the perfect way to do it. But you shouldn't have fought to completely get your 90% or up to 90%. You should have fought for, okay, we need it to be fair. That's the name of the title of the act, the Social Security Fairness Act. But you essentially made it now that it's the Social Security Unfairness Act for the other 97% of people that only get 50% with the same exact earnings you get. So how do we rectify this? Is unfortunately, I think Biden's going to do it. The only way we can do it is Trump might be able to fix it. We need to reach out to our politicians and tell them to recalculate it. And it's easy to do right now. It's very, very easy to do, because Social Security has these earnings. All we have to do is the new calculation should take into consideration that bottom yellow part there. That's it. Simple. Super, super simple. And those people will get the 50%, and easy. Very easy solution. We couldn't do that 40 years ago because we didn't have that bottom yellow part. So that is it. So for those people that were being dishonest because you wanted the extra money, happy holidays. For those people that were just, oh, I didn't know, well, I would look to your leaders of this movement and say, hey, how come you never told us that? How come you kept telling us it's unfair, it's discriminating against us? How come you didn't tell us about how benefits are calculated, and that extra 10, 20, 30, 40% was supposed to go to disabled people and those less fortunate to us? I would reach out to them and say, hey, they were trying to keep their jobs as leaders of the movement, I guess. So take those leaders out, put new leaders in, and start the movement again to correct this injustice. And we can, have another slogan: stop the steal, justice for the other 97%, Social Security True Fairness Act, whatever you want. So, all right, the phone lines are open there. And all right, my $10 green screen back there is fixed. I spare no expense. Anyway, we're all about content here rather than fancy YouTube type stuff. All right. And we're always live. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into some questions. Anything. So you can debate me on the merits of what I just said. I've been debating this for a few decades, so I'd be more than happy to debate it again. But if you have any other questions about Social Security, retirement, disability, anything, let's make sure you're getting the money you're entitled to. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Can you explain how my COLA was a raise when my medical took all but $7 of it? Yeah, I only get $7 a month more than I did. How is that a rate? I agree. Yeah, COLA. Um, COLA is it's not a political thing of how it's calculated. It's basically the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They take a basket of goods from the third quarter of last year, and then they take the same basket of goods from the third quarter of this year, and they say how much it increased. And this year it increased 2.5%. So yeah, last year, a couple of years ago, it was 8.7. That's because the inflation rate was really, really high at that time. So, yeah, but watch this video, and I talk about if you're struggling, if you're making under 15, 16, $1,700 a month, it depends on what particular state you're in. Please watch this video. I go into the Medicare savings program. Maybe the state will be able to pay your Medicare. That's an extra $185 in your bank. One of the big things is people are receiving the wrong type of benefits. They filed for benefits at the wrong time. They filed for the wrong type of benefits, and so that's what I'm doing in my semi-retirement, is helping you all get everything you're entitled to. But I agree. It's not good. Has the requirement age for spousal benefits been moved back to 70 years old instead of your own for all? Nope, nope. For spouse benefits, you can start spouse benefits at 62 years old, unless we're looking at surviving spouse benefits. Surviving spouse benefits, a lot of people miss this one. Please like, share, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff, because there's a lot of people out there that are eligible for surviving spouse benefits, but they're waiting till they're 62 years old. No, no, no. You can get surviving spouse benefits starting at 60 years old, and even early if you're disabled. If you're disabled, it's called Disabled Widows Benefits, DWB. You can get Disabled Widows Benefits starting at 50, from 50 to 59 years old. All right. My late husband passed at age 45. I remarried at 49. Now I'm on SSDI, now age 63. Am I still able to receive file on my late husband's Social Security? No, because you've been remarried. The only time in terms of surviving spouse benefits, you can remarry after the age of 60. But other than that, no, unfortunately. Um, and so, yeah, you have to be, and your current spouse has to be 62 years old, at least 62 years old, or start collecting their benefits if it's your current spouse. All right. Since my Social Security SSA is currently affected by pension WEP, does my ex-spouse also has his affected since he receives monthly payments from my pension? Fairness should be shared. Exactly. Fairness should be shared. You should, yes. This is probably not anyway. But yeah, that whole calculations, and you're going to go back to getting up to 90% the welfare type benefit. So yeah, hope you enjoy it. Is COLA a different from increase of our Social Security check? Um, COLA is one of the increases. You can also increase your Social Security benefit by any time you delay collecting your Social Security benefit. There's also, if you continue to work, even if you're collecting your Social Security benefits, if you're 85 years old and you continue to work and pay into Social Security, and that's one of your high 35 years. Again, remember, they look at your earnings record, and this is another thing to, hey, make sure. Or let me take this whole thing out there. This is also an important thing to check your earnings records, because see how important this is that's how they determine how much money you make for the rest of your life. Retirement, disability, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, all of it is based on your work record. So it's important, critical, that your work record is correct. So tell everybody in your family, everybody you know, always check your Social Security. Go into ssa.gov, set up an account, and check it after you do your taxes, a few weeks after you do your taxes, to make sure the previous year's earnings are reflected in there, because it's very, very difficult to check after after 10 or 20 or 30 years later. It's very difficult, if not impossible. Oh, let me take that thing out there. All right. But yeah, if you continue to work and pay into Social Security, and that's one of your high 35 years of earnings, then yeah, Social Security takes that into consideration and increases your benefits. So, but that takes a little longer. Your COLA increase comes immediately, like in January. But your increase based on your high 35 years, a new high 35 years, you have to file your taxes first, and then the IRS notifies Social Security, and then Social Security does the recalculation, and you get the extra benefit. So some people just got their extra benefit based on last year's earnings in October, but they give you retroactive. So if they say, "Hey, sorry it took us so long," and because you didn't file your taxes until like April or May, but sorry it took so long, but your benefits are going to now be increased an extra $10 a month, and because it started January, here's $100, back pay. So it's always included in, and that's 100% automatic. You don't have to do anything. Um, I had an appointment with Social Security today at 9:32, and they never called. Wow, yeah. You wonder why it's 9:32? That's a trick. Yeah, the head office in Baltimore is always saying, "Stop doing that." 9:31 and 9:32 and 9:33, and they're always telling offices to stop that 3:2, 3:1 and stuff. But that's a trick that because of the computer system, that's a way to determine okay, what type of claim this is, and who's this going to go to, and stuff like that. So it's kind of an internal trick Social Security managers and supervisors use to kind of manage the chaos. But yeah, this is again, this is a concerted effort by politicians to destroy customer service and thereby privatizing Social Security. Because if Social Security does it, you call them up and they pick up the phone immediately, and they always call you on time, and your benefits are always correct, and everything is all hunky dory, and Ed can go on to retirement because he nobody needs me anymore. Then you know when the politicians say, "Hey, let's give it to Wall Street." You're like, "No, they're doing an awesome job." So the politicians, the people that want to give it to their buddies at Wall Street, they want to make customer service as worse, as terrible as they possibly can. So now Social Security is at a 50-year low. So make sure I've got in the chat um, two petitions. One is to fund Social Security and stop the privatization. And the other one is to, what was the other? Yeah, the FICA tax, the FICA tax. That's what my argument, instead of the cuts and raising the retirement age and all the rest of it, is my solution is to raise the FICA cap. And what is that? It's basically right now, if you make, because some people thought today's topic was about the FICA cap. No. And what they're referencing is when you pay into Social Security, you pay 6.2% FICA tax, your payroll tax from your taxes, to Social Security. The other 1.45% goes to Medicare, but you pay 6.2% up to $176,100. That's for 2025. After that, you don't pay Social Security FICA tax anymore. So if you're, rich, making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, then you don't pay money after 176,000. So us regular people, we pay FICA tax, Social Security tax on pretty every dollar we make. If you make over that, you don't pay anymore. So all we need to do is raise the cap, eliminate the cap, then Social Security is good for decades and decades and decades to come. And there's not going to be any cuts, and everything's going to be hunky dory. But unfortunately, if they raise the cap, who's going to pay the extra money is the billionaires in charge, and so it's going to be a tough battle for us. But we have to try. Gung ho Marine here. Sorry, I'm optimistic. Um, Government or state, Ed? Yeah, it's did I misspeak? I do that sometimes. So government employees that worked, the school district, there's like new Texas teachers, they don't pay into Social Security, Chicago, California, there's several states, and firefighters in those places. So they're government, and they work for the government. They work for the city government, the state government, the local county government and stuff. And again, under the old federal system prior to 1983, they didn't pay into Social Security as well. But, in my office, we had about 100 people, and 99 of those people paid into Social Security. There was one person that was hired in 1973 who has since retired. She was under the old system. So, but yeah, everybody now is under the new system. The government should be charged with elder abuse for mismanaging the growth potential of the funds, leaving the elderly in poverty. Yeah, I mean, some people argue that the Senator Bill Cassidy is going to be introducing a bill in January to privatize Social Security. That there's $2.7 trillion right now in the Social Security Trust Fund, and he wants to give $1.5 trillion of that to Wall Street so they can bet it on Wall Street or real estate or whatever. And supposedly, after their fees and their commissions will make out supposedly. Some people agree with that. I would, yeah, I don't trust politicians. I think they're gonna just give it to themselves and stuff. So I say we just keep it like it's been since 1935. And what's interesting for those government employees out there, the 3%, his idea was used to use y'all as pawns. And you don't believe me? Watch this video. This is a video I did, but in the video, in this video that I did about 4 or 5 days ago, in the description it has the full interview that he was doing in front of a bunch of money people, finance type people, and he specifically said, it's for all intents and purposes, I'm going to use these guys as pawns. I'll vote. I mean, that's the reason the politicians voted. 97 out of 100 senators voted for this unfair Social Security Fairness Act. And the reason they did it is because they wanted the votes. And number two, there's some element of those politicians that want to destroy Social Security and to, suck out another 190 billion from the trust fund in Social Security quicker so they can go give it to their buddies on Wall Street. So, am I a bit jaded? Realistic? Both of the above? Anyway. All right. Let's see what other kind of questions we have here. Again, this can be anything all related to Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. If I start Social Security at 67 and continue working till 70, will my benefits still increase 24%? No, because you have to delay. Those are called delayed retirement credits. So you're not delaying receiving your Social Security benefits, so you won't get that 24%. No, the delayed retirement credits, you get 8% every year you wait after your full retirement age. But, Rich, there is one thing that you can do that a lot of people don't know about, including Social Security employees, unfortunately, is that if you're about to reach your full retirement age, you can actually suspend your Social Security benefits to get the 8% every year. It's called voluntary delayed retirement credits. So if you're interested in that, then you go down to Social Security, before you hit your full retirement age and say, hey, stop my benefits. I'll come back when I'm 70 and get them restarted for that extra 24%. And they're going to look at you like you're crazy because unfortunately, yeah, a lot of people, not many people know about that. Not many people take advantage of that strategy. And therefore the Social Security employees, most of them don't know about it. So you just have to push a little bit. And yes, Ed is upset. Yes, yes. I don't like injustice. I don't like people taking advantage of the system like that. And again, I understand that these teachers and they always say teachers, but it's all the janitors. They were that was the injustice, and the janitors and the lunch lady and the guy that drove the bus. Yeah, the calculations were probably very wrong for them, and it should be corrected. But their movement should have been, let's make it fair. Let's make it actually the Social Security Fairness Act. But no, they decided to let's make it unfair for the other 97% and use these people in our movement that are really suffering as kind of pawns in our game so we can get more. It's just I'm sorry. I'm never going to be a politician. um I went to the petition site to sign. They tried to make me do a donation to finish. Really? Yeah, they shouldn't do that. I think it's, yeah, this is the first time I've used it. It's called change.org. I don't think you have to. If they make you sign, I think you can you don't have to. I don't think you have to. I checked it out. I don't think you have to, but yeah, they really kind of, yeah, a lot of people use that same website to do the petitions. I'll probably have to, but yeah, don't donate. Don't donate. Yeah, to the petition. Just sign the petition. Don't donate. So, let's see. If we flipped the FICA cap, poor wouldn't pay in, but rich would pay with bin points if necessary. Yeah, that's the bin points. Some people get the 90%, some people get 50, some people get 35%, and there's math on the other side there. But yeah, and people say, well, if we raise the cap or we got rid of the cap, that means the rich people would pay a whole bunch in there, but they would also get big checks. No, there would just be a different thing. It'd be a different percentage. So they would get, 1% return on what they paid into it or something like that. And we, name a dog park after them or something. I don't know. I'm a government retiree receiving pension and have paid into Social Security for 31 years. So are you saying they? Okay. Okay, you got cut off there. Let's see here. If they know Social Security fund may be running out in 2033 and already considering deduct 33% from everyone, why give even some an extra 2,000 months now? Yeah, exactly. I kind of facetiously, kind of sarcastically say, okay, if they get extra money, then we should get extra money too. And if we get 50%, we should get 90%. If we get that extra 40%, then that's going to be an extra $2,000 in our paychecks. And yeah, and then the trust fund will run out next week, and then everybody will get, 21, 33% cut. So I'm not saying that. I say it as just kind of to bring the point home that if we get what they get, then everybody gets several $100s more a month. So yeah, I don't agree with that. It makes no sense to do this with Social Security due to bottom out soon first, lift the cap to keep it funded and function. Yes, pretty much every time I talk about raising the cap, everybody's against me or everybody is for raising the cap except for politicians. Yeah. Um, I spent 16 years raising two very responsible boys. Awesome. Then worked at a minimal jobs till retirement. Now I'm punished for not working outside the home for 16 years. Um, Not sure. Yeah, I agree. I think there's what this economists every now and then they come out with their study where they say, to be a homemaker and stuff. If you hired someone to do all the stuff, the Uber and taking care of this and taking care of that, then you would be paid what is $100,000 a year if someone was hired to do that. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Um, but remember, if you were married to their spouse benefits, divorced spouse benefits, independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. So please, all right. So there's a lot of people out there that are missing this benefit. What it is, Shirley, if I said your name, Shirley. Anyway, say it nicer. Sorry. I'm on a rampage today. So if you don't have very high earnings on your own, remember, if you were married to someone for 10 years or longer, you can collect spouse benefits. So if you're currently married and your current spouse is receiving benefits, then you can file for spouse benefits, even if you never paid in into it yourself. Okay. A lot of people say, well, I can't get spouse benefits because I never paid in Social Security. No, you can get spouse benefits and you don't have to be insured on your own record for benefits. If you're divorced and you were married to that person for 10 years, you're might be eligible for benefits on that person's record, even if they haven't filed for benefits. It's called independently entitled divorce spouse benefits. As long as your ex spouse is 62 years old, it doesn't matter if they filed or not. As long as they're 62, you can file for benefits on their record. The only stipulation is that you had to be divorced for 2 years, and their benefit or twice your benefit amount. And if you were married to anybody that passed and you were married and it was a divorce type situation, same type of thing, 10 years. If you were married to them when they passed, you had to be married at least 9 months. There's a couple exceptions there. If they passed away because of an accident or they were a military line of duty type situation. Even if you were married in your 20s, and that person passed away at 27 years old, I would definitely call Social Security and see if you're entitled to any surviving spouse benefits. So, and then again, check out my video and yeah, see if you can find some other type of benefits. Wealthy people who have hobby jobs have never been affected by WEP. If you want to do means testing, it should be real means testing. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the I've got in the link in my YouTube description. It the raising the FICA cap, it would solve 73% of the issues, and make Social Security solvent, the trust fund for a long time. But there's hundreds of other ideas, and if you look at my description in YouTube, it has the Social Security actuarial report, the guy that runs all the numbers. Any type of plan that some politician comes up with, hey, I think we should do this or do that, and means test this or raise the retirement age on this. The the actuary takes out his big calculator and does all the calculations, and it'll tell you if it fixes it or it doesn't. So, not all government workers are high end earners. Some teachers make less than 30K a year. Persons working in some lunchrooms, auxiliary staff make only 20K a year and need the funds they paid into. Exactly, exactly. But they need the right amount of funds they paid into, also including that calculation based on what they didn't pay into it. That's what I'm saying. They shouldn't just get 90% above the board. Um, there should be an accurate calculation. 100%. I agree. That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. Thank you. It may help the people who feel gypped to give them 60% rather than 50%, but they should have known this would happen. Um, yeah, again, it's very easy to do the calculation now. It wasn't possible to do the calculation now. One of the arguments was, you're holding my pension against me. No, we don't care about your pension, those 3%. They say, well, it's a double, you won't let me double dip. No, it's nothing. It's never been about double dipping. Again, that's, propaganda by, anyway, it's not about your pension. It's about you're not that extra welfare benefit wasn't intended for you. And the only way in the 1980s they could figure out a way to, eliminate that windfall was by saying, okay, just tell us how much your pension is, and then we'll do the calculation there. It was a bad calculation for 70-80%. It was correct, but 20%, like the person we just talked about, the lunchroom worker and the janitor and stuff like that, like I said, it was a bad calculation. We can do better now. All we have to do is include all earnings and get them at the right percentage. And if it's 50% and if it's 90%, the janitor, if it is actually 90%, they get 90%. No ifs, ands, or buts. But if you're also the city mayor and you're making, $100,000 a year, yeah, I'm sorry, you're not going to get the 90%. Or if you're making a teacher making 40, 50, $60,000, yeah, I'm sorry, you're not going to get the 90%. So that's all we're saying here. Um, Still not providing verifiable documents. What's your VA comp tax-free compensation? Is that fair? Yeah, we're not talking VA comp tax-free comp VA Veterans Administration. Yeah, I don't do taxes. Um, it's not terrible when the dip into it for other purposes that it was meant for. Um, are we talking about the trust fund? Yeah, that's another internet myth that politicians like to talk about because they're trying to distract us. The trust fund, the $2.7 trillion is still there. And how is because politicians are trying to give that money to Wall Street. So these same politicians, I guarantee, if you look at the record, one day the politicians say it's all fake money. The Social Security, it's all empty. It was stolen. It was given to Ukraine or illegals or, to aliens or whatever the case may be. And it's not really there. It's all fake money. It's all worthless IOUs. And then the next day they'll say, hey, we should give $1.5 trillion to Wall Street. And I was like, okay, what is it money or is it not money? Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Interesting, the groups they chose: teacher, police, firefighters, librarians. My thoughts are these are the most likely to be leaders in a movement to push changes in Social Security, like lifting the cap. Yes, exactly. And again, if you look at the websites that are advocating this, they always say that they always use those three. And politicians, always line up those for their political relations shots. Teachers, firefighters, and librarians, and they make sure they dress up in their uniforms and stuff like that, and say, "Oh, you're discriminating against them." But the other 97% of teachers and police and firefighters are saying, no, they're not discriminating against us. They're just not giving them the welfare benefit. We don't get the welfare benefit either. So why should they get the welfare benefit? So anyway, I'm on disability, but when I was younger, I did work for a school board in the lunchroom. I didn't work long enough to draw retirement. I only worked 4 years. Will my disability check be recalculated? It really depends if your benefits, again, this is working its way through Congress, and what happens is the president will sign it. And if he signs it, then they have to send it to Social Security, and Social Security lawyers look at it and figure out how to do the calculations and yada, yada, yada. And then they give it to the computer programmers who write the code so they can determine who gets it and what. And so, yeah, everything is still out, but I'm going to watch all of that, of what's going forward, and yeah, keep you all abreast of everything that's going on. Oh, Trump will fix it. um, yeah, I'm not sure. Thank you, Dr. Ware. I talked with Tyler from chapter yesterday. Good people. Oh, awesome. Yes. So I help with all things, on my daily live Q&A and making videos. I help people with Social Security, retirement, disability, survivor benefits, Medicaid, Medicare Part A and Part B. But there's the Medicare supplement plans and Medicare Advantage plans and Part D and all that stuff. So I've my partner chapter helps with all that. So if you're turning 65 or you're new to Medicare, if you sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan and you change your mind, January, you might be able to switch. So reach out to them. Um, but always, 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 please do me one favor. You and everybody always, always, always look at Medicare supplement plans first. Anytime you want to cover the gaps of original Part A and Part B, look at Medicare supplements first, the Plan N or the Plan G, either one of those. I prefer Plan N because I'm cheap like that, but G might be better for you. And Chapter will be able to explain what the differences are. And then if that's not right for you, then look at a Medicare Advantage plan, but always start with a Medicare supplement plan, please. Can an ex-spouse receive more than a current spouse in case of a spouse's death? Um, Ex-spouse receive more than a current spouse. No. So, okay, let me see if I can figure this out. So you're married, your current spouse, and your current spouse is, let's say, receiving $1,000. No, the max you can receive is 100% of that person's benefit amount. Well, there is actually, yes. It's called the widow's limb or the rib limb. If your spouse or ex-spouse took their benefits very, very early, um, what Social Security does is give you the higher, either the 71.5% or 82.5, depending on your age. So there is a possibility. Yes, there is that widow's limb. Yes, there is a small possibility. I'm so afraid to lose 33%. We are depending on this money. A lot of us will not be able to pay their bills. We can't work. We will be homeless. Yes, I agree. And this is, again, look at this. These are the numbers. Let me pop it up here real quick. Where is my graphic? Okay. So as of right now, and you can look at the link in the YouTube description on the Social Security Trustees report and all of this, that right now, right now, if nothing changes, well, as of right now, this minute, in 2034, automatic 21% cuts for everybody across the board. It's going to be more now because of this windfall elimination provision, this GPO, this new thing that was just passed. So it's going to be about 6 months to a year earlier. So we're looking about 2033 or so, and then probably another 1 or 2% cut because, you know, they won their battle. If the next president does some of the stuff he's talking about, then it's going to be earlier and there are going to be more cuts. And you can see that the description of that in the link. But if we do something, if we solve this, if we raise the FICA cap and we get our things done, or whatever else you recommend, if we fix it, then there'll be zero cuts, and Social Security will be around here for our kids and grandkids and all that kind of good stuff, and for here. And that's my job in that's my mission in semi-retirement, to make sure y'all getting all the benefits you're entitled to now, and to make sure it continues here in the future. All right. As an ex-cop 25 years ago, I have no pension, only Social Security. I got screwed by WEP. I get $1,400 despite paying over 30 years. Again, yeah, send me an email, ed@mygovexpert.com, and send me all of your earnings throughout your life. And we'll take a look at your high 35 years of earnings and determine whether you should get that 90%, the welfare-based benefit, or whether the $1,400 is pretty much the correct benefit. Again, it's just, a lot of people, they say, I wanted the 90% because that's what my statement said. This is where a lot of people are getting that number. They said, well, when I went online, it said I was going to get $3,000. Yeah, but right under it, it says this is not a correct calculation if you're one of these 3% with this non-covered pension. It says right there. Now there's a whole page that talks about it. So ignorance of the law, you're a cop. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I'm sure you gave out tickets. Oh, I didn't know I couldn't go 150 miles an hour. Can you get spouse benefits if you're on disability? Yes. Thank you, Ray. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about this. Um, yeah, there's hundreds of millions of dollars being lost out there of lifetime benefits. So if you're on disability, and you're okay, here's the thing. If you're on disability, when you turn 60 years old, here's what you need to do to see if you're entitled to any surviving spouse benefits. So if you're entitled to surviving spouse benefits, you met the marriage requirements and all that stuff, and there's more money there, that extra money will be added on top of yours. One will offset the other, but your disability will continue, plus you'll get survivor benefits. Again, one offsets the other. And your Medicare will continue because you're currently on, disability. Your disability won't stop. So when you're 60, do that. When you're 62, see if you're entitled to any spouse benefits, current spouse, divorced spouse, independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. And same thing, your disability will continue. You'll just get more benefits on top. When you're 65, that's when you check to see if, hey, maybe I should have did a Medicare supplement plan. In most states, you can't do a Medicare supplement plan under the age of 65, but once you're 65, you get a do-over. So check to see if a Medicare supplement plan is right for you. And then once you hit your full retirement age, work doesn't matter anymore. You're no longer on disability benefits. Your disability benefits just switch into regular retirement benefits, and you no longer have any limitations of work and no longer any continuing disability reviews and all that stuff. So, all right. Um, let's see. Late. I'm skipping around and got a lot of questions here, and we've only got about 10 more minutes. Late to the party, I reached out to my U.S. representative after getting the runaround trying to get my wet papers. I now have my December payment. She has a link on her page for Social Security problems. Yeah, all politicians, senators, House Representative, Congress people have a link on their website that says, "I need help with a federal agency." I would recommend everybody go to that and say, hey, what are you doing to improve the customer service at the local office down the street from you? Um, I had to call, and I hear this all the time. I was on wait for, hold for 3 hours, and then they hung up on me, or they gave me the wrong information, or I had to set up an appointment. And my appointments, now they've gone to a reservation only system, the best 5-star restaurant. You can't get a reservation for 2 months. Go to every politician and click on that little thing, and it says, I need help with a federal agency, and say, hey, what are you doing to improve customer service? Forget about the nation, because they just care about their local constituency, the local voters. Could you imagine if everybody in the country went on to their politician's website, click that little button and says, what are you doing? Then yeah, then you would never see me again. And a lot of people would be very, very happy about that. And because Social Security would pick up the phones, they would have help, they would, be trained. Because right now they're at a 50-year low. But unfortunately, I'll still be, you have to suffer with me for another year, because I've done this hundreds of times. When I ran my Social Security office, you get a new employee, you don't let them do anything for a year, because they'll mess it up. You basically have them pretty much in training for a year. It takes them a year to do anything. And you might have them do a little bit of stuff, but you have to appoint someone else to review every single thing they touch to make sure they don't mess it up. So for the first year, even if we did this, and everybody reached out, and politicians say, oh, okay, your office gets another 5 employees, your office gets another 10 employees, customer service would be worse for a year. So you're stuck with me for another year, and then everything would be good. And then I would, yeah, it's better the burnout than to fade away, right? Greetings, everyone. I finally got to catch you live. Hey, Christina, welcome. And I know we have an awesome community here that we share the knowledge that you learn. So please, I think I'm going to do a video one time that says, do not watch this video if you're only going to watch it for yourself. "Oh, that doesn't apply to me, so I'm not interested in this video." Then we don't want you here. And it's like, okay, that doesn't apply to me, but do I know anybody that it does? Someone at my, church or temple or synagogue or mosque, or the coworker, or the lady, the waitress, the truck driver, the guy, whoever, neighbor, relative, does it apply to? So if you have the time to watch me sit here and just blabber on for an hour, then please watch out for other people. Yes. Let's see here. When the stock market crashes, we get nothing. Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. And if they privatize it, that's okay. Here's your retirement. But what happens, if you're 30 years old and become disabled and you didn't get enough money for it? Yeah, so there's a lot of things there that some people like the privatization idea, but yeah, not me. There are other countries that do it. Australia does it. Canada does it. They have a board that kind of invests that money and stuff. And I guess if it was done correctly, but I just don't trust our politicians because if you watch the video I just put up, um, you know, give the money, the 1.5 trillion is going to be given to the highest bidder or the lowest bidder or the one that makes the most political donations or yeah, so that's yeah. Simply pay the wealthy the same amount per dollar invested as upper class taxpayers. No privatization. What would happen if money is lost the market? Fiduciaries should be elected. Yeah. I was taking claims in 2008, 2009, and a lot of people had their 401ks in the stock market, and yeah, then they didn't. Yeah. If you go back to work at 71, will they cut your Social Security check? Absolutely not. Nope. Um, it might increase. If it's one of your high 35 years, they'll do the recalculation automatically and you might get more benefits. But yeah, once you hit your full retirement age, whether it's 66 and 8 months or 67 or whatever the case may be, then you're good. No longer limited an amount of money you can make. You can make $1 billion a month and you are good. Don't believe everything this guy says. I agree. Take what and look at the research, look at the links down below. And I think this is one of the 3%. Again, it's if you've been told you've been ripped off and discriminated against, and it's an injustice for 40 years, having some I was going to use an old Marine Corps, vocabulary, but I won't. A schmuck like me on YouTube, kind of popping the bubble. You're not going to believe me. Yeah, I understand that. You're not going to believe me. So yeah. But if you do your research and yeah, and that's one of the difficult things is these are teachers, these are educators, and their job is to go where the facts lead them. Do their research. They're supposed to be teaching their students critical learning skills, and so they either were dishonest, they knew those calculations were basically a welfare type benefit and that they didn't care, they just wanted the money, or they just didn't do their own independent research. And these organizations that pushed it, you go onto their website, it doesn't say that. It just says it's an injustice and you're being stolen from and reduced and cut and it's not fair. And yeah, so don't you think it's going to have to take increased ceiling plus gradual increase in the full retirement age to sustain the Social Security Trust Fund? No, I don't think the retirement age. Again, if you look at the actuarial report to raise the FICA, that's 73%, and that's one of the things politicians do as well. They say, well, it's not a perfect solution, so it's not 100%, so we're not even going to try it. Now they're in the position of, hey, we've tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas. So you just take the 73% and then you find another 3% or 5% someplace else. And it says it in the spreadsheet and the actuarial report where you can find the other percentage. So yeah, it's very easy. I 100% don't agree with raising the retirement age because when you do, number one, it's the people that are having a difficult time. Manual labor. My dad was a truck driver, drove 18-wheeler for decades. He couldn't do that till 7. You wouldn't want someone in 70 years old on the truck driver like that. Yeah, it's just too dangerous. Yeah. All right. All right. We are running out of time. Let me get one last question and see if we can get someone. Oh, okay. I am a widow who worked for the government, yet I'm unable to work now. I believe we are due to the Social Security Reagan took away from the widows. Yeah, that's the other part of this I didn't talk about. There's a government pension offset, but it's the same exact thing. Is that their benefits? If as I talked about when someone asked about a question about spouse benefits, I said one offsets the other. So for everybody, the 97% that paid in Social Security, if they go collect spouse benefits, their benefits offset what they receive on the spouse. And now For these 3%, their benefits essentially for the calculations are a little bit different, but their benefits won't offset. So they'll get, yeah, now they're getting a double dip, I guess, if you want to look at it one way. So yeah. All right. Let me get one last question. Um, I'm 68 receiving widow's benefits. Will my SSI automatically switch to my own account or remain on my late husband? Okay. So SSI is a welfare based program. So you mean probably just regular Social Security. So you're receiving widow's benefits um, to my own account or remain on. Okay. So what happens is if you're receiving surviving spouse benefits, widow's benefits, and you didn't touch your own record, then once you hit your full retirement or any time, once your benefits go up higher than what your current surviving spouse benefits are, you can switch to your own record. And in some respects, vice versa. So if you're receiving benefits on your own record and then someone passes away, you can add those benefits on top. So, all right, we are at an hour, and unfortunately, we are out of time. So, yeah, comments down below if you want to debate and you believe I was incorrect in one particular part or the other. Feel free to add your comments down below. Share, like, subscribe.